my brothers are why I'm like insecure and I don't trust anyone, because they just lied to me my entire life. That's all they did. Like, to get me to do anything when I was little, it was very easy. All you had to do was time me. That was it. Just put a stop clock on it and I'm yours. Like, that was it. Like, I wanted to be in the Olympics, so I was like, I'll time everything, you know, like I'd be watching TV and they'd be like, hey, go get me a soda. I'm like, nah, I'm watching TV. And they're like, I'll time you. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Here we come, Barcelona, hit it. And I'd just be like, okay, all right. Like, do you want ice in a soda? They'd be like, what? I was like, there's no time. They'd just like, bring it back downstairs. There it is. Where's my time? Feel like I'm growing into my body. What was my time? And every time, for probably like over 1,000 times, they would just look at their watch and go, it just says you're gay, man. I'd be like, okay, well, that's mean of you to say to me, but if I was, that's totally acceptable and fine, but I'm not. And how would a watch know that, to be honest? That's not how watches work. Look, very funny joke. I bet you actually timed it, though, so I would love to know the actual time. Keeping a record. And they'd be like, I'm sorry, buddy, thanks for the soda. Oh, still gay. I'm like, all right, that's on me, for sure. The second one's my fault.
I'm actually one of 6 kids Catholic. You ever notice people from big Catholic families, they always throw that Catholic after the number? 6 kids Catholic. 6 kids Catholic. Like, if you didn't hear the Catholic part, you think, 6 kids, his mother really likes sex. Oh, she was Catholic. I'm the youngest, too. And when you're the youngest of a big family, people are always like, you're the baby, you're spoiled. You know, the fact about it, when you're the youngest of a big family, by the time you're a teenager, your parents are insane. They're like, hey, I'm going roller skating. You're not going roller skating, you'll end up pregnant like your sister. Why don't you smoke pot and become a lawyer? Parents get burned out in big families. You can even see it in the naming of children. It's always like the first kid, you were named after grandma. The 7th kid, you were named after a sandwich I had. I love that. Now get your brother Ruben.
I have a younger boyfriend now. I like the little ones. Yes, I do like those little ones. Yes, I do. I am officially a cougar. He's young and white, so I'm not just a cougar, I'm a Black Panther. Young and white, and he wants me to meet his mama. That's gonna be a situation. Because he has to tell her 2 things. He has to tell her I'm older and I'm Black. I can't wait to meet her. Because I'm gonna tell her, I got your baby boy. I'm joking, I met her. I love that joke the way I wrote it. I don't feel like changing it, so. No, they were very nice. Everyone was nice. It's the holidays, and they knew I was coming. They were prepared. They put their stuff away. Everyone was nice, which actually bothered me, you know, because I kind of like to, you know, to get weird and crazy and awkward. Like, I was too nice for a comic. Like, I wanted to represent, you know, act a fool. I wanted to go in there and be like, yo, what's up, what's up? Where's the sweet potatoes, huh? Where's the sweet potatoes? Got my baby boy right here? By the way, you're not a Black comic until you do this. But I didn't do that. I behaved, you know. His mom is actually very funny too. She's nice. She's a gift giver. She watches QVC a lot. She gave me this lip plumper. It's supposed to make your lips bigger. Do I have to explain why that was inappropriate? I don't need that.
In my family, it goes like this: John, Christy, Todd, Michael. Okay, that's my name, Michael. Everyone has a friend named Michael. Everyone can pronounce the name Michael. It's not a difficult name to say, Michael. Well, when I was born, my brother Todd was 4. He tried to say my name, Michael, but instead he said, Mickle. Oh, isn't that so cute? Todd said, Mickle. Somehow Mickle became pickle. To this day, I am 30 years old. My entire family calls me Pickle because when Todd was 4, he was and he couldn't say Michael. Michael. It's not hard. I'm in my dad's cell phone as Pickle because Todd is a head. Pickle, dinner's ready. No, Mom, it's Michael, okay? You and Dad named me Michael. I hate my brother Toddles. And whenever Todd was bored, which was every day, because that's all older siblings are, is bored, miserable ass. He would grab his friends and they'd play this great game where they would take Michael's arms and they would forcefully tie him behind a tree trunk and they would tickle my armpits until I my pants. The game would actually end when the tears would hit the in my pants. Tickle the pickle till he. They had a name for the game. That's how often they were playing it. Tickle the pickle till he. Really? I'm a 9-year-old boy, right? I'm adorable at 9. Tiny little 9-year-old leather jacket on. Who are your heroes when you're 9? Your older brothers, that too. And they took advantage of that big time, John and Todd. They used to play hide and go seek with me, but they wouldn't go seek. Who doesn't search for their 9-year-old brother? That game's called hide and go die, little brother. That's what that game's called. Okay, Pickle, here's how we play. You go find a real tight space with limited oxygen. We're gonna go play Legends of Zelda for 6.5 straight days. Hiding in my neighbor's car trunk. They're never gonna find me here. No, they're not, because they're not looking for you. Because they're ass.
Earlier this year, something pretty major happened for me. I became an uncle for the first time, which is pretty cool. Oh, thank you so much. I had nothing to do with it, but cool. I'll take the congratulations. Yeah, I became an uncle, and that's really cool. I'm really excited. Less cool, I have a very religious family, and there were many people in my family who are concerned about me being around the baby because I am gay. I know, which is sort of ridiculous because it's like nobody in my family has seen any of the guys that I've because I can do so much better than some baby, okay? Like, come on. Look at what I'm working with here, all right? That baby wishes, all right? My sister's baby should be so lucky at the end of the day. My family is very, very Christian. They're very evangelical, Southern Baptist Christians. They're so Christian that they homeschooled me until I was 16 years old because they did not want me learning about sex or evolution. And as like a fun fringe benefit of that, now I don't know about states either, which is pretty cool. Just never knowing where I am, you know? I recently, truthfully had to ask a friend, what is Oklahoma? You know, because it seems sort of unclear.
I wanted to come out to my Muslim family for a really long time, but my dad was always like, shh, keep it a secret, man. Secrets are cool. I was like, Dad, I'm married now. What's your 5-year plan with this secret? I just keep on showing up to family things with like, my white best friend. She loves Ramadan. Pretty soon we've got like a little kid best friend. I don't fucking know what. I found him in a well. I do want a kid eventually. That's the only thing that sucks about being a lesbian is like in order to have a baby that looks half like me and half like my wife, I need my brother's sperm. No straight girls ever need their brother's sperm to complete this potion. No, I need it. And it's not for me. Some people are weird after shows. They're like, you can't put that shit inside of you, man. Your babies will be weird. Like, you're weird. They think I wanted to make like a super Jalise. Like, yep, she's 90% blind, 50% deaf, but 100% Jalise. No, I want my brother's sperm so that my wife does a handstand, I do a layup, and just baby. Right? The gayest move in the WNBA. Done.
First time I met my biological father, he took me out to lunch, and the place he took me turned out to be a family-style restaurant, which kind of ironic. They should make broken family-style restaurants. You just walk in like, where's the waiter? I think he abandoned us. I don't know, but they forget to come out and sing happy birthday. They're like, we forgot, but we'll make it up to you next year. Another guy comes out, he's like, I don't actually work here, I'm just banging the owner. I'll be your step waiter. Is that one too real for the crowd? Sorry.
I got a friend that had a daughter the same time I did, but she's been talking for 2 years now. Articulate, too. Like, Mommy, can I have a sandwich? And I was like, wow. There's a D in sandwich? And every time we go over there, she shows off. Mommy, can we go upstairs and play with my toys? Mommy, little Joe wants to go outside and swing on my swings. Mommy, little Joe's hungry. Can we get something to eat? Mommy! And she's like, yeah, we can get something to eat, but what does little Joe want? What do you want to eat, little Joe? I want a peanut butter cutter soda! He wants a sandwich. Where's his helmet? It's around here. I buy this kid every toy in the book. Every toy you can think of, I bought it for him. Guess what he plays with with the most? His penis. He can't stop playing with his penis. It's the best toy. He can't wait, and he pulls it out, and he's like, Daddy, look at my ting ting. He can't talk, but he named it his ting ting. Daddy, what? Ting ting. Daddy, what? Ting ting. Daddy, what? Ting ting. His favorite toy is Thomas the Train. His favorite train is Percy the Train. Guess what he calls it? Pushy. Pushy, 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 Daddy, I want pushy. And I know you guys are thinking to yourself, oh, big deal, it's just pushy. But just imagine me pushing him in a shopping cart at Toys R Us. He's yelling, pushy, 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 while he's tugging on his ting ting. Try explaining that to security for a half hour.